Hello, my name is Lindsay Klein, and I am an author for our Let's Talk curriculum. I'm really excited to talk to you today about the overview and kind of give you a sneak peek into it so that you can understand how this could potentially work for you or how you could implement it into your class. So Let's Talk English is a teaching curriculum for English as a second language. We believe that it's more for students from grades 6 through 12, college and university, and it does follow the Common European Framework, A1 through B2. We have all electronic lesson libraries with over 100 plus study course hours for each one, for each level, and it is a blend of 85% self-access and then 15% potentially classwork where you have conversations or projects or intro to culture, things like that that you would be discussing with your students, any grammar charts that you may want to lecture on. But the majority is 85% would be self-access that they could do. What this means for you as a teacher potentially right now with distance learning is that you would have 2,500 activities, and of those 85% would be able to be pushed out at the touch of a button to your students. And what I think is the best part is that 52% of those would be able to be graded by our platform. And what that means is that if you want to assign more speaking activities or writing activities that are open-ended, those are the ones that you could use your time to grade, whereas the other ones that have to do with little grammar things or even some speaking with pronunciation, our system will do it for you and really free up a lot of your time, but still allow your students to get as much practice as possible. And the thing I always love to point out is that this was developed by language teachers for language teachers who have it was developed by teachers who had already mastered this program, this Smart Class Plus program, and really were able to take the best of the best ways to teach a foreign language and mix it and match it with the correct template in our Smart Class Hub. So really great opportunities here, and I cannot wait to show them to you. So without further ado, I'm going to show you what a chapter looks like that we have to offer. And I'm going to do what we have from B2, Chapter 3. And the reason I'm starting here is because if you would sign up for our free access at this moment, this is the chapter you would have available to you with the opportunity to potentially have access to every activity through all 4 chapters. So each one of our chapters, or I should start with the books, each one of our books has 6 chapters. In each chapter, there are 3 sections. So you're looking at about 18 sections per book. And each section is broken into vocabulary, grammar, conversation, reading, and then it cycles over again for section 2, and then cycles again for section 3. Then we finish off the chapter with a Let's Talk, where it's based on the theme, and we're interviewing students, and there is a video that's done by students where your students can be acclimated to authentic language where it's not scripted and there are grammar mistakes or slang and fast language being used. Then we go into the review and assessment, and our review and assessment is great because the assessment mirrors what we do in the review so that your students really know what to expect and are prepared to take the assessment, and that there aren't any questions that they might have that would hinder their ability or to show their ability. Obviously, it is not the exact same questions, but for example, if we did a fill in the blank for listening 1 in the review, then it would be a fill in the blank that would mirror that activity in the review for the assessment. And I'll kind of show you what I mean by that. We also believe in project-based learning and project-based assessment. So we do, for every chapter, have 2 projects for you. So if I would just scroll through, the first thing you'll see is a culture page. We like to introduce some culture. So we have an internet search to go along with the culture. B2, the cultural focus is Canada. Then right away, we have the entire vocabulary list. So your students can be studying it all up front. So each, again, is broken into sections. So section 1, our whole common theme is travel. This one in particular is taking a trip. Section 2 would be more about traveling with at the airport hotel. And then section 3 would be sightseeing and some extra weather. Then you go into right away starting with vocabulary. And then you have all sorts of vocabulary activities. You can see there's speaking. We list what type of an activity it is, what type of stimulus the students will be having. Are they reading, speaking, writing, listening? We have some cultural notes in every section. And then, as you can see, sentence jumble, fill in the blanks, open recording, question and answer, segmented recording. So your students will not be getting bored and they'll be staying highly motivated and interacting because of the fact that we have really taken the 20 templates and mixed it with all sorts of, all of the domains. So they're not just listening and then doing a multiple choice. I mean, the options are truly exponential if we have 20 templates and, the different domains. Then it goes into grammar, and for every grammar, in each section, there are 2 grammar topics. So if there are 3 sections and you have 2 per section, you're looking at 6 new grammar concepts per each chapter. So that's 6 times 6. We've got 36 grammar topics in each level. And we break them down really nicely with these easy to read charts, lots of great examples. And then the next activities only focus on that grammar chart. And then it would go into the next, let's break it down grammar chart. And then it would go into a conversation that has to do with this vocab, or potentially the vocab and the grammar, or just the grammar, where it gets the students interacting. And we do have these in our Smart Class Hub for you. So if you are doing distance learning, your students would be able to call each other, do this activity, and then fill out the information in the MAD that we ask them that can prove that they did the activity for you. Then it goes into a great reading activity, and then some comprehension questions to go with that. And then it cycles again. Now we're in section 2, and it's going to cycle through again: vocabulary, grammar, conversation, reading. See, we're still in the grammar, then it's conversation, and now reading. And they're authentic readings with emails, applications for your students to fill out or that have been filled out, and then they have to mirror that. So brochures, websites, we really tried to remain authentic. Then it's section 3, and the exact same: vocabulary, grammar, conversation, and then reading. And there's anywhere from 8 to 11 different activities per vocab and then per grammar. So you are looking at a plethora of activities that are possible for your students. And then it goes into our Let's Talk. As you can see, we give you the script for the video. So they'll be listening, and they'll be answering comprehension questions, and then they'll be listening to some interviews, and then doing comprehension questions to go with those. Then we go to the review and assessment, and we have the I can statement, so the students can match those to the objectives and how well they feel with that topic. And then for the assessment, we are testing each domain. So we've got 2 listening activities, and we either have 1, 2, or 3 grammar activities for the review and assessment, and then a reading, a writing, and always 2 speaking activities. And that is how every single chapter is laid out, so you know what to expect, and your students also know what to expect. So what I'm going to do is I'll quickly show you what happens if you would like to adapt this into your classroom. What would that look like? We have 2 different options. This may be your main resource, where this is the curriculum and the handbook, teacher handbook, that you would be using for teaching English. Or it may be a supplemental resource. Let's say you've got a great textbook, but it doesn't have a lot of listening activities or speaking activities, and you really just want to use this to help with your students' comprehension and your students' active language of speaking. So comprehension and speaking were 2 things that myself, as a high school German teacher, that I felt my textbook didn't do enough of. So I created a lot of my own activities in the Smart Class Hub and saw exponential growth for my students with their comprehension and conversation abilities. So what you would do is, if this was the only resource that you were going to be using, you would be going into your Smart Class Hub, and this is what my Smart Class Hub would look like. And again, this is not a training. This is just to show you kind of what Let's Talk is about. And I literally would just say, okay, I want to work on the section 3 vocab, and I could look at what it was in here. I could look at each activity, or I could easily click on the activity and I could open it and see what this activity is about, so that I don't even have to open the PDF if I didn't want to. I could easily just look here and see what it was that the students were being asked to do. And this one was just so that the students had access to the vocab chart, they could see it, and I could click and go one by one, or look here. But at the click of a button, I could assign all of these activities, and it would be pushed out to my student. They'd have every single one of these done. They would know the order in which they had to do them, just go right down the order. And they are numbered, so it's easy for the students to see that and understand that. And then what would happen is, you can see all the way 319, a couple of them have 2 parts. So you're looking at 13 activities about right here at the click of a button for your students. However, let's say that you wanted to use this only as a supplemental resource. We made this easy to access spreadsheet for you. So you, instead of having to page through the PDF and just, page through and say, yep, I like this activity, I like this activity, we made something that has all the information you might need about the activity itself. So let's say you really want to use this to help work on speaking. And I'm just going to pick on speaking to show you how easy it is to filter out. What we've done is, this is my B2 activity index, and we tell you how to filter and how to search within this. So we have some instructions there. But what I would do is I would literally just go down to chapter 3. If you see an X here, it means it's auto-graded for you. So I could even go one step further and say, I'm going to do all the auto-graded activities and all the speaking activities. So that, if you're working on travel, you can match what chapter we do travel in, and you could just use the activities you want to use for that. So auto-graded are nice, easy ones to assign. So you literally could go and say, oh, yep, I'm just going to pick all those. Or you can do what we have here. You have a filter where you would highlight the column, create a filter, and then what do you want to filter? Well, I only want to focus on the speakings. So I'm going to clear everything, and I'm going to search for speak, and then I'm going to click on anything that deals with speaking. And it's going to filter out absolutely every activity that deals with speaking. So as you can see, these would be the ones that I would go and assign. So if I wanted to work on the vocab, and let's just say I'm going to work on vocab so I can easily show you this. Now I know, and I have an easy index for me to say which activities I want to do and which ones I don't want to do. So I've got my chapter 3, section 1 vocab ready to go, and I want to keep 3.1.1, 2, both part 2s, and point 9. Those are the ones that I'm going to keep. All the other ones I could pull aside. If I wanted to give myself all the auto-graded ones too, I would leave in these question mark ones. Those mean that they're graded by our system. So at the click of a button, let me just show you what that would look like. If I took out, oops, and actually that's the pronunciation. That's a really good one. I'm not going to take that one out. So if I took out all of the ones that didn't have to do with speaking, all you would do is just pull them aside. And because I value organization, I'm going to keep cultural note in. Because I value organization, I would even potentially make a folder and put these activities in elsewhere so that I wouldn't lose them, like chapter 3, unused activities. And I could put them in a folder down below where then these wouldn't just be hanging out here. But now, as you see, at the click of a button, I would have some great speaking activities for my students to do. And I would just change this to active or assigned so that now my students have the ability to go in and do those activities. So what I would like to show you now is what it would look like to grade any of the Let's Talk activities. So all I would do is click on the activity that I would like to grade. And obviously in your classroom you'd have more students. I just did this as a student on my own. So you have a couple of different ways where you can just click through and it would go from student to student, or you could literally just go in and you would see whoever has it done and you could click on that student in order to grade their work. If our system would grade it for you, next to that white dot, their percentage would pop up, or if you went and gave them a written grade at all, it would say A, B, whatever it is that you wrote there. So what I can do is I see that they recorded 23 seconds and I could go and just listen to what they recorded.
There's a couple that decided they wanted to go on vacation, so they went to a
So I will not bore you and have you listen to all of that, but what I could do is I could grade and I could say A, and then I could give written feedback. It takes a while to give written feedback, so what I prefer is this record button here, where I could give feedback as far as pronunciation or just quick verbal feedback. Lindsay, you did a great job with the different tenses. You said what happened, what is happening, and what will happen, so way to go. Really watch the pronunciation of your TH sound and try to focus on using more adjectives next time. So I could give whatever kind of feedback I wanted and I could hit save. And then when the student would go in and look at their grade later, they would see their feedback and could easily listen to it and read it as well. So that was just a simple open recording that I wanted to show you. Another activity would be our pronunciation. What I love about this one is that the system grades it for you. As a student, I only did it a couple of the sentences, so I obviously did not get a very good grade here. But what you can see from this side of it is, you know, I could take a look at how the student did. I can't listen to what they did, but if they had an 83%, you know, why didn't they go and try it again? Or why did she skip over all these other ones? Those are the types of things that I look for as a teacher. You know, how close were they to getting that 100%? So obviously this would have been a much better grade had, you know, I done the whole thing. So I could give oral feedback and say, you know, looks like you did a great job. Even when you have an 83%, maybe try again so you can get closer to that 100%. And I can record myself and save and change this to whatever I wanted to, just so you can see that you can actually change that if you wanted. And lastly, I'm going to show you the segmented recording. If any of these were in the system, our system would automatically have graded it for you. But obviously with the speaking activities, you do have to go in there and listen to those except for the pronunciation. And then this one is a fun one because I could click on this play button and it would play the question and the answer. But from a teacher standpoint, I appreciate so much that I don't have to listen to the question over and over, and I literally can hit play and just listen to what the student had to say.
I would like to go to Greece on vacation. I'm looking for a vacation where I can do both.
Okay, so then I could give feedback and say, Lindsay, you did a great job. Next time, make sure that you say at least 2 sentences for each question. Really try to challenge yourself and use as much vocab as possible. Okay, and then I could give a grade and I could say A minus. And then I would save that there. And I am completely done. So at the clicks of buttons, you can easily grade anything that you give your students. It's all in one place. So again, I cannot speak highly enough about this platform combined with this content and the ease of use and what it could potentially do for you and your students. Thank you so much for listening.